Yeah, this is another E3 video, but don't worry, it's probably the last. Maybe. Definitely not, actually. We've complained about the Assassin's Creed Origins Collector's Edition, we've talked about Anthem, Call of Duty World War II and all the rest. But then we thought, why not shine a light on the games that no one's really talking about?
If you were paying attention, if you watched the full conferences, there's a good chance you spotted these games. They might even be high on your list of games to watch. But we feel like a lot of these games got drowned out by all the big announcements, the bullshot trailers and the Jesse Wellens cock-ups. So let's take a moment to shine a light on 8 great looking games you might have missed at E3 2017.
First up is Hunt Showdown for PC, PS4 and Xbox One. It's a survival shooter with a bit of a gothic flavour from Crytek and a game that no one seems to be talking about too much. It was first announced in 2014 as a pretty basic looking Left 4 Dead copycat. What we saw at E3 though is very different indeed. The Left 4 Dead stuff is pretty much gone, replaced by a mashup of ideas that seem to click together very well. It's actually got a fairly original concept now where 5 teams of 2 sneak around swamps looking for demons. In classic survival game style, it's all about staying alive while working towards your goal, and the focus is very much on tension and fear, and it looks flipping gorgeous as well. There's no word on a release date yet, but it's definitely one we want to keep an eye on.
Next up is Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord on PC, and one of the games I was most excited about seeing more of. We actually didn't get to see too much of it at E3 other than a 13-minute demo that showcased cavalry battles in action, not on the scale of the siege battle we've seen previously. But Mountain Blade is a magic little game that can't really be shown off with a brief gameplay demo anyway. The original set you loose to do effectively whatever you want to make a name for yourself, good or bad. Mountain Blade 2 looks like an evolution of that idea, with lords that behave differently on the battlefield, employing different strategies. Individual combat has been overhauled and the number of units on screen looks to be a significant step up from the original. It's a nice looking game as well, just maybe not up to the AAA standards of today, but that never stopped the original. No sign of a release date yet, but the devs say it will be ready when it's ready, but hopefully sometime soon.
Next is The Last Night, which is due out on PC and Xbox One sometime next year, and it's a game that Jake assures me looks well ace. It was one of the most enthralling trailers in Microsoft's conference, and this isn't a big budget AAA game. Far from it. It's a 2.5D indie cyberpunk thriller which blends 90s styled pixel graphics with some more current twists as well. You play as Charlie, a lower class citizen living in an era of leisure where computers and machinery have taken over all forms of menial work. The game is about exploration, shootouts and some stealth. It's a game where your actions have consequences, and it's got a really interesting aesthetic as well. It's out on PC and Xbox One sometime next year.
Ashen was a game unveiled at the Microsoft conference for PC and Xbox One that immediately drew comparisons to another title, Dark Souls. It's an open world survival combat and exploration game that does hit a lot of the same notes as a Dark Souls game. Developed by indie studio Aurora 44, it is certainly smaller in scale though, except in one big way. Ashen doubles down on the multiplayer aspects of a Souls-like experience. The big inspiration, PlayStation title Journey, a game that seamlessly blends multiplayer into the single player experience with no loading screens or obvious matchmaking. Ashen drops players into each other's games naturally as co-op partners, exploring dungeons and taking on enemies together. It's got a lovely art style and its stylized presentation gives it a particularly eerie flavour. Very nice.
Kingsway is next on the list, coming to PC. It's not my cup of tea at all really, but one look at this title gives away the gimmick immediately. It's kind of an FTL style RPG with an interface style to be like Windows 95. That kind of thing never does anything for me normally, but it actually does look very interesting. All the quest management is done by checking your emails on the desktop, for example. All your items are stashed in a classic Windows folder. Enemies are handled as new pop-up windows. It all looks pretty gimmicky to me at first, but I like the inventiveness of what they've done, integrating the game so heavily into that Windows style interface. It looks challenging to attack enemies, clicking the right thing at the right time. I'm interested to experience this game firsthand.
Tunic is a Legend of Zelda inspired isometric adventure game for PC. Formerly titled Secret Legend, Tunic is one of the more charming games on show at E3 this year. It's a lovely looking game, and although we've only really seen a few minutes of gameplay, it seems to pay strong homage to the Zelda series with its look, gameplay and blatant copyright infringements. It's definitely one to have on your radar if you're into your isometric indies. It's due out sometime in 2018.
And next is Islands. It's a colourful voxel based Minecraft-ish sandbox game from the makers of the ultra-serious military sim Arma. That's right, Bohemia Interactive, the guys known for years as the people who make some of the most hardcore military shooters on the market, now want to step into the same sphere as Minecraft. Islands looks like it's got some personality, and despite actually earning a solid eye roll from me on first impression, it's really started to grow on me since its reveal. It was unveiled at the E3 PC gaming show and includes gameplay elements like crafting, building, terrain manipulation, and a bunch of co-op activities. Players can drive cars, they can ride horses, sail the high seas, and get chased by wild boars. The fact that Bohemia Interactive are the guys behind it only makes it more interesting for me. These guys know how to make a good sandbox. It's just that this one won't include F-15s and Czech-sounding towns and villages. Well, that we know of.
And finally on the list is Vampire, a third-person action RPG due out on PC, PS4 and Xbox One in November. As the player, you control a vampiric doctor who, being a vampire, is compelled to murder innocent people. It's all about gathering info on your targets, communicating with the inhabitants of a semi-open world London, and picking your targets carefully. Anyone in the game can be your target, but your decisions will always have consequences. It is possible though to go through the game without killing anyone, which would unlock one of 4 endings and best preserve your cover as a doctor. But that would leave you basically unable to level up your skills. There is both ranged and melee combat in the game, which can be used to take down plenty of non-human enemies like other vampiric lords, sewer-dwelling vampires known as skulls, and the werewolf style of Volcod. There's also crafting, special abilities, and a health meta system to keep an eye on the average health of people within the 4 playable London districts. Honestly, there's a lot going on here and it looks very interesting. It's developed by Don't Nod off of Life is Strange. Publisher Focus Home Interactive are known for putting out some decent stuff. Let's hope this one goes a little bit beyond that. So I've seen some videos this week summing up E3, and some of them like really negative towards E3, saying that it was a disaster, it was horrible, it was depressing. There's a lot of negativity coming out of other YouTubers like us, and we've known to have our fair share of negativity in the past. But we thought we'd shine a light on some of the awesome things that we saw on E3. We don't think that E3 was a disaster in any way. We thought it was overall a really good conference.
There were disasters in it, like the Bethesda conference, in my humble opinion. Jesse Wellens, for example. There were many disasters in it, but it was just overall there was a lot of games, and you just kind of have to look. There's what's the name of that website we've been checking out? E3recap.com or something like that. Yeah. It's like a full comprehensive list, all the games there, all the trailers, all the demos that they showed off and stuff. Go there and watch that. If you thought E3 2017 there weren't enough games there, go on our website and check it out and just scroll through it. There's loads of games.
So many interesting things. Like
yeah.
Like exactly VR was well serviced this year. They had a lot of new interest in that PlayStation PlayLink stuff. That was awesome. Really liked that idea. Like these new games coming out of the woodwork. Like The Islands was interesting. There's a lot of on our list today that were really interesting, come out of nowhere, and left us with a really positive impression of E3 this year. What did you guys think about E3? Were you generally overall positive about it, or were you like some other YouTubers that we're not going to mention here, were you overall depressed by E3? Let us know.
So those were kind of our hidden gems of E3 2017. Do you have any hidden gems, any games that we didn't mention? Let us know what they were down in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this. There's another video right there if you want to watch that, and a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. See you next time.